Now, most 360s organize data like this. Bar charts, you're familiar with the bar charts coming down the page. 5-point scale data, 1 through 5. And if you look at this data, you'd say, well, this is Bob's actual data, by the way, put up as it would be on a traditional 360 competency assessment. You look at it and you go, well, that's interesting. Bob's pretty strong here, 4 out of 5 on a 5-point scale. That's looking pretty good, and a good balance between all the dimensions, so looks like a good solid performer. That's not what we're hearing about Bob, though, so what's the story? Well, what we do then is say, how do we distill the real meaning out of this data? It's hard to see it here. There's actually a lot going on in this. So if we percentile this information, which means compare it to our norm base of over 350,000 scores, Bob's data looks like this. Now you're seeing some significant highs and lows. But do we have a pattern yet? Pattern brings meaning to data. Trends, patterns, right? So do we have a pattern yet? You can filter into this, kind of sort through it, maybe start to get clear on what's going on here, but it's a lot easier if you arrange it in a pattern. So let's arrange this on one of the big frameworks in the leadership circle, which is task to relationship. Now, there's a very clear pattern. The meaning in this data is pretty obvious, and it wasn't at all obvious from the first slide we looked at when it was organized on a 5-point scale data. So this is actually Bob's data. Now we plug this into his circle, and it looks like this. The green scores are the feedback scores from others. The red scores are the self-assessment. We're not going to pay that much attention to the self-assessment here. We'll look at that later. But you can see Bob very strong on relating, not so strong on task-focused achieving. And then we put on a whole set of 18 different competencies that make up or define what's really going on in that pattern. And so we fill in Bob's data, and we see that there's some significant strengths, and scores get pretty weak over on the task side of the equation. So now we have a very rich set of measures to go to Bob with and talk about his leadership, how he's showing up in the organization. But do we know why? Why this pattern? What's running this pattern? How do we help Bob get insight into that? And for that, we need the bottom half of the circle. And so let's fill that in. We need the set of reactive measures. These are behaviors and assumptions that he might be running at the reactive level mind, right? That if you see strong extensions in the bottom half, you're likely to see problems in the top half. So we fill in Bob's bottom half of his data. Looks like that.